Welcome to EdotGdot and Friends. My name is Elden Killian, your host, and today I am here with my good buddy, Andy Korson.
Hello.
Say hi, Andy.
Hello, everybody.
You have anything to say about yourself?
Not really. I'm just really happy that Elden invited me to come here and talk. So hopefully I'll have something important and useful to say.
This is the first time we've seen each other face to face since like February of last year.
Been a long time.
Yeah, long time. Anyway, Andy's one of my really good buddies. We've been gaming for a long time together. At least like 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
When I started going to CBBS.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do for your day job? What's your...
I work at the National Laboratory, Research Laboratory out here in Richland. I'm in the security department, so try to help keep things safe and secure out there.
Is all of your job classified?
A lot of it is, some of it is. It just depends. So, but yeah, we have things we don't like to share with other people.
I have a personal thing. I believe you're a spy, and you just haven't told us. I know you can't confirm that, but
I don't want to kill you, so I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, can't confirm or deny.
That's correct.
He's a spy. Anyway, so what's your gaming pedigree? I guess we're gonna talk about a game today. So what's your
sure? When I was in high school, of course, played all the traditional Milton Bradley type games. We played a lot of that as a family. But right around high school, I started discovering some of the other things out there. Matter of fact, I think some of the first games that I really got excited about were the original Ace of Aces, the book card game, or the book airplane game.
I don't think I know anything about those.
They're a really unique design that came out. A tremendous amount of fun. My brother introduced me to those, and through that I discovered Axis and Allies, which a lot of people don't realize. Axis and Allies was originally developed by a really small gaming company before it was bought by Milton Bradley and turned into the monster that it is today. But I played a lot of that, and then into a lot of other games from there. And then through college, of course, I got introduced to a lot of the Avalon Hill games out there. Played a lot of those with my friends, and then eventually got steered into the rest of the more modern Euro games and things like that. So,
were you ever a Magic player?
I was not. I remember when Magic came out, being interested in it. I never bought any, which I'm glad, because if I had, I probably would have gone down that rabbit hole. So after seeing it out there and thinking that sounds interesting, learning now that I know more about the whole a collectible card game model, I am so glad that I didn't get into that, because it just seems like a huge money pit that I don't think I would have ended up liking in the end. So
I never got into Magic. I played a few times, like in the last few years, just different situations. Yeah, but not really my game. But I know a lot of people who are interested in getting into Magic. And
I have recently started playing Arkham Horror, the card game, which is the living card game, which is the non-collectible variant, I guess, of that model, where you don't have to worry about missing out on cards or trying to find those rares, because all the cards are always available. That one's a money pit too, though. So but
is it still active?
Oh yes, absolutely. That one is hugely popular, still very active. Matter of fact, it's kind of hard to find some of the older sets. They're constantly going out of print.
Not collectible.
But I have been playing a lot with some of my friends. I play that one a fair amount solo, but really enjoying that one.
Yeah, cool. You also are my only friend, I think, who has a designer credit on a game.
That's true.
You have a couple games.
I do.
Let's talk about the best one first. Okay, there's this game. It's called Prism. I hear Tom Vassell loves it.
That's harsh. That's harsh. So yeah, when I before I discovered BGG and really got into the whole gaming community, was kind of on my own. I liked tinkering with game inventions. I had invented a few games when I was in high school and college that we played with family and friends. Yeah, I developed this game called Prism. It's my goal was to come up with something that was in the same family as Uno, so that level of complexity, that kind of target, and I think it works well for that. I think it really does fit into that genre really well. Obviously, for maybe some of our snootier gaming crowds, it's not quite going to be their cup of tea. But I just on a whim, I thought I'd try to self-publish it, so I had. I think I printed up 2,000 copies of it and sold a few on websites, sold a few at gaming conventions. I think I have about 900 of them left. So I feel
you sold a fair number then.
Yeah, so not too bad. I certainly didn't make any money on it, but it was a fun experience.
Well, I know the very first time I went to the local game store, Adventures Underground, they had a copy, and a guy pointed out, "Hey, it's a local designer."
Yeah,
and that was before I'd met you, so it was out there. If you want a copy,
or two,
or a case, here he goes not looking by the case. But no, I'm actually as far as like a game that I want to play every day, it's not my jam. But I used to play this actually quite a bit. I'm a school teacher, and I used to have a recess time gaming, and those fourth graders loved it.
Yeah,
and they've especially liked making me lose. Those zap cards were only for me.
Not a surprise there. Yeah, my sister ran a daycare back in the day, and it was hugely popular with the kids. So I think for what I was aiming for, I think I hit it pretty well.
Yeah.
But like a lot of things, the hard part is in the distribution.
Yeah.
It is really hard to be able to get into that market and be able to get things out there and known.
Yeah.
So,
it really is that style of game. Like if Hasbro had bought this, slapped their name on it, maybe slightly different graphic design, they would have sold, bajillion copies at Walmart.
Sure.
Because it's in that style.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
And then, but let's talk about your better games. So the other one that you have published is a co-design with Mike
Fitzgerald. Yes. So Mystery Rummy. That's the one that I'm most proud of. The last Mystery Rummy game, Escape from Alcatraz, that was an interesting story how that came about, because there was a game design contest on BGG where they were looking for some Mystery Rummy like games, and Mike Fitzgerald was a guest judge. Thank you. Yeah. Was a guest judge on that. And I've always been fascinated by some of the stories of Alcatraz, and I thought it would be a perfect theme for that. So I put together an entry that was as true as I could think of to make it look and feel like a Mystery Rummy game. And it didn't win. I think I came in third, if I remember right. In the contest.
He was robbed.
I was totally robbed. But Mike loved it, and I got a special judge's favorite award. I think it was something like that they called it. And afterward, Mike reached out to me and said, "Hey, are you interested in co-developing this into a real game?" And so we did. We worked on it for a couple of years, and eventually got it published. Yeah. It's out there. It's doing extremely well.
Oh, really?
I think if you look at the ratings on BGG, it's actually the second in raw ratings. It doesn't have as many copies out there, so their crazy algorithm, I think it's still like,
because some of those Mystery Rummy games have were real popular back in the day, right? Like they sold a bajillion copies of those. Maybe.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
might be overstating that, but
I like all of them. But I like mine the best. So, what a surprise!
I am not a huge fan of Mystery Rummy, but I think yours, of the two I've played, by far the best. I hate Wyatt Earp.
Really?
Yeah, I did not like that experience.
That's interesting, because that's a lot of people think that's one of the better ones out there.
No, I like yours has like those special things of pop. I don't know. It makes the game more exciting, I think.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. I pulled what they call the gavel cards is what they call them. Normally they're integrated into the main deck. and you play them out of your hand. I introduced them as a separate deck that was more of an unknown factor, which adds a little bit of chaos, a little bit of randomness to the game. A lot of people like that, but there are some that just absolutely hate it. They feel that it's interesting to read some of the comments on BGG.
Don't read the comments. Don't read the comments.
But there are some people that really, really don't like that random nature and how it can screw with their grand plans. So,
right.
But I think overall it
but works. The other cards, when they come out of the deck, they screw with everybody's grand plan.
I know. So control what you can.
I guess. Never read the comments. Actually, here's how I know like my videos are not very popular or don't have any distribution. I don't have any negative comments, and I don't have any thumbs down on any of my videos.
You know you've made it when you start getting thumbs down.
I need to get some thumbs downs to be a real content provider. Anyway, let's move on. What are we actually talking about today? That was a lot of intro. I lost my... There you go. Today we're going to talk about Railways of the World. Games I've played 20 times, series I've been doing with my friends. Have you played Railways 20 times?
I have not played it 20 times. I think maybe 10. Okay. Probably, something like that. I don't log my games, so I don't have an exact number. So,
well, let's talk about the game real quick. This is a Glenn Drover and Martin Wallace. So Martin Wallace probably the lead designer, right? Because published 2005 as Railroad Tycoon. By Winsome, and then 2009 Eagle Griffin picked it up and changed the name. So just a little history there, but this is an adaptation of Age of Steam. Have you played Age of Steam?
I have not. I would be interested in playing Age of Steam.
I think there was
someday, but I have not played it yet. I
think it was Age of Steam, right? That just last year had a Kickstarter, made a bunch of money. I don't think it's out in the wild yet though. But BGG ranks this as 127, so they think Age of Steam is better. Well, have you not played Age of Steam? I think they're wrong, but hint, I like the game. BGG rates it a 7.7. I rank it my number 5 favorite game of all time. I did a big series in October. I don't know if you saw any of those.
I saw some of them.
Yeah.
I disagreed
with
some of
that's right. That's right. You did send me a message about Mystery Rummy, I think. It was a little low. Yes. I'm sorry. Did you know... Oh, we didn't talk about your other game. Your game that's my favorite is... a little sidebar here. It's not published yet. But
Chicken Feed Stampede, yes.
Yeah, Chicken Feed Stampede. I really like that game, and I can't remember where I ranked it, but it was like 1-something, I think 120 or whatever. Out of
I think I must have missed that.
Yeah. I really like that game. I really want it to be published still. I know it's like languishing in like whatever, but that's a great game.
I've shared it with a number of publishers, and I keep getting nibbles, but I haven't gotten anyone to bite yet. So
anyway, maybe one day you'll see Chicken Feed Stampede. You do a Kickstarter for it. Anyway, and I have played this game 52 times. That includes all of the different expansions and stuff, and
I have not played it 52 times. Maybe, like I said, maybe 10.
I got lucky, and when I picked up my copy, I introduced this to my friend Steve, and this is his favorite game. Mm-hmm. And so he pushed me to play it a lot, and which is a good thing. Did you play
2-player then?
We have played 2-player a number of times. Uh-huh. There are a couple maps that work well with 2 players. We'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah. But we'll talk about it. Awards. This won no awards, and which is sad because it is. I think it's a nice production for sure, right? The little plastic minis, everything. Anyway, it was nominated for some stuff. And I have a bone to pick with BGG. So when you look up like on their awards thing, so it says finalist Juego del Año. I don't know what organization that was. That's the name of the award. I don't know what
Spanish.
It's Spanish for sure, but I don't know if it's from Spain or Mexico or any of those other countries.
Guatemala.
It doesn't link to what organization is sponsoring the award. It's the Juego del Año. It was a finalist.
All right. Wow.
I don't know. Anyway, this is the first game I've done in my games I've played series where the game hasn't won any awards. Like
it is surprising.
And I think this is my highest. No, Great Western Trail is my favorite game, and we did that one. Anyway, so how's the game played? There's a series of rounds. rounds where you auction for the first player. And I think this is my favorite part of the game. Is you auction for it, and then you complain as you take 3 actions about not winning the bid or winning the bid.
Whatever you did it wrong.
Yeah, whatever you did it wrong. But then you take 3 actions where you're building track and connecting cities. Then it's a pick up deliver game in essence. And you move it around, and then you get income, you pay it, and then you go back around and you do it all again until you hit the end game conditions. It can play for a while, right?
It can be long. Yeah. I think the base game map is fairly large, and if you play with a high number of players. I know that it's got a scaling mechanism built in it, so the end game conditions are vary based on a number of players, which is I think designed to keep the game length reasonable regardless of the player number. But it's probably a couple hours at least. So
I think the bigger problem, I think we've played, me and you, like a 6-player one time in Walla Walla one time, and that seemed pretty long. But it's just like when you have 6 people making strategic decisions,
right?
It's going to drag out.
Right, the maps that I played, and again I haven't played all of them, but I've played most of them. I think they do a good job of scaling the map size for the number of players. Yeah,
we can talk about maps when we get to the variants, because I have things to say about maps.
Okay.
I have played. No, we'll say that discussion. But yeah, that's the game. So you're trying to connect routes. There's a few different ways to score points, but primarily you're scoring points by moving goods across the board. The further you move them, the more links you go through, the more points you get, which also impacts your income. And this is, let's say part of this discussion for future. But do you remember the very first time you played it?
I think the first time I played it was at BGG a long time ago. I honestly don't remember a lot of the details. I remember I remember I liked it so much that I sought out a copy. When I first saw it, it was still under its original name, Railroad Tycoon, and it was actually a little hard to get at the time. And so I ended up finding, I think they called it the International Edition, which was they were basically taking bits and pieces from various languages and putting them all into one box to make a complete game. So my first copy of the game was in a Railroad Tycoon version that had I think the trains were in Spanish, the cards were in English, and I don't remember what the other parts were. Do you still have that? I don't, because when they came out with when they renamed it and they came out with the Railways of the World edition, I wanted to get that, and so I sold my first copy, and now I have one of the Railways versions.
My very first time was with you. I remember I showed up to game night at Tim's house, and you were setting up. It was the map. It's the one map I don't have because they rejiggered the maps. It was the Great Britain and...
Oh, yes.
The one I have is Great Britain, but yours is like England and... What do they call
England and Wales.
England and Wales, yes. And so I have the Great Britain one. But anyway, and I remember I sat on the far side of the table. I was lost for most of the game. And you know what? I am misremembering this. That was not the first time I played it. The first time I played it was with you at Tim's, but we played on the U.S. map because I had called a bad decision making because I didn't understand the game.
Right.
I tried to connect Chicago to Detroit. Didn't do it in that first round, which when I spent a bunch of money and got nothing out of it.
Right.
And then the rest of the game was real bad. But then
did you get caught in the debt spiral?
I did. Yes. It took me like an hour to get out of it. Like,
yes.
So in the game you start the game with no money, which is really interesting.
Yes.
And you can play the game with no debt. I've seen it played a few times. You have to get it's situational and lucky, but not really lucky, I guess, because you know the information.
A lot of it depends on the cards that come out and whether you're able to get that first early score.
Yeah.
To generate enough income to jumpstart you into the second and later rounds.
Yeah. So you can't play with no debt, but generally you're going to take at least a little bit of debt. And debt you can't pay off, and you have to pay the interest on it all the time. And
including if you don't have enough cash to pay interest on your debt, you take more debt to pay the interest.
And that's the debt spiral.
And that's the debt spiral.
And I got caught in that. It's amazing I ever played the game again after that. Because it wasn't super fun, but I did have fun trying to figure it out after that. I was like, I'm pretty good at going with the flow. I think, anyway, in my mind. Maybe the people I play with don't agree with me, but but yeah, then I played the other time with that map, and I remember, here's what I remember about that second play, is I was sitting on the far side. I couldn't really see what was going on the other side of the board because it's so big,
right?
And the lighting's not great in that room. But I did get some hotels. So in the game, you can get these hotels, and anytime anybody delivers there, you get a point. And I just picked up some hotels. I don't know if it was part of my grand scheme or whatever. But at the end of the game, I realized the hotel I thought I kept collecting on was not the hotel. And I felt really stupid. I didn't win the game, but I felt really stupid. I just didn't say anything. I was like,
Did that make it in the session report?
Maybe. You can go look. I might have fessed up to it later. But at the time, I was like,
oops. Oh, well, that happens. Yeah.
It was my fault. It was on the other side of the board. I couldn't see it. Anyway, that was my first 2 times playing, I guess.
Right.
So what makes you want to keep playing the game? I mean, I know you like it a lot.
I
right?
do like it, and I think I like the pick up and deliver aspect. I'm not very good at it, to be honest with you, but I do like trying to puzzle out where the cubes are on the board and what might be the best routes to get them there. I really enjoy that. I like that the game doesn't have a lot of screw your neighbor kind of stuff, but it does have a really interesting player interaction. There are ways, if you're not careful, you can get yourself into bad situations if you don't play optimally, and the other players start blocking you out of things like that. So I kind of like how the player interaction works without necessarily being a direct attack. Some games that works well. This game, it won't. As a comparison, I think would be the 18XX series, which seem a lot more cutthroat in terms of how you interact with the other players. So I kind of like that you don't have to worry about being brutalized by your opponents as you're building your own engine. So
and I one of the things that you say 18XX, my introduction really to hobby gaming. Not introduction. I wasn't even thinking about hobby gaming. It's just a game that my family played a lot that my sister had brought over was Empire Builder, the Crayon Rails, which is pick up deliver.
Right.
And I like that game a lot, and I have a lot of fond memories about it. But the change that this does to that system is Empire Builder is all about building your rail, and I don't know, it's like laborious almost, and it's all different resources. Like you have to pick up specific resources in specific places, and there's this great puzzle that goes with that. But this one makes it so streamlined. It's like, I need to get a red cube to a red city. Right. How am I going to make that happen? Yes. I don't have to draw anything. I put these tiles out and put them out, and it just streamlines that whole pick up deliver process so well. And I think that's what I really like about it. And the interaction is not so much in your face, but it exists. Right. Which I tend to enjoy. If you're just playing a solo game by yourself with 4 other people, what are you really doing? Yeah,
there's a time and a place for that. I mean, I like all kinds of different games in different situations, so I wouldn't say that I have a favorite, but I do like the way this one plays and how the interaction works with other players. Yeah. It makes for a really good time. Yeah,
I just noticed my picture does not make any sense at all. It's a state I staged this picture, but there's no way you could have gotten any cubes off of this to this gray city to make it empty. Anyway.
That's funny. That's a nice picture.
I didn't think it through. I was looking for the aesthetic.
Maybe it was a variant.
Yeah, totally, it was a variant. Anyway, and that's what I really like about the game. So let's talk about some expansions and variants. How many different maps have you played, do you think?
Have I played? I think I played all the maps that I own, which is most of them, at least once. With the exception of the most recent one.
Portugal?
Portugal, yeah. I have it, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Okay. But like I said, I've played all of them at least once. I do like the I like the idea, although I don't know that I would like the experience of putting the two U.S. maps together to play the giant transcontinental version.
Yeah.
It looks good when you see the pictures of it, and it sounds interesting. But I think that might be a little bit too much.
Yeah,
railways.
That's a day. That's a day.
Yeah, but I haven't done that. I think it's one of those it's one of those gaming experiences that I wouldn't mind doing once, kind of a thing. So
I don't know. I have a really big table. I don't know if it fit on my table.
It would be close.
Especially if I take the top off, like it barely fits like the Eastern U.S. map and like all the stuff around it.
Yeah, it's
table hog,
fairly large.
Yeah. So I've played. Have you tried the Antarctica?
I have not.
I haven't either. Because no rules for it.
You're supposed to make your own rules for it. I thought about putting together some rules for it, but at the time they had a design contest. If I remember right, you could win like a copy of the game or something. I don't remember what it was. If you submitted some rules, and so I know there are some variant rules out there to use the Antarctica map, but I have not played with any of them, and I haven't come up with any of my own. It might be something I might want to do someday. I think it could be interesting to
put on the list of things you'll think about doing.
Sure. Try to come up with some snow related theme. That's what I was thinking.
It's such a weird board because it doesn't have any locations on it.
Right.
It doesn't have any. Well, I don't know. It's just a thing. I don't know what you're talking about. So I played everything that I own except I picked up a copy of Railways Through Time, and I opened it up. I looked at it. I read the rules, and I don't know.
I have played Railways Through Time, and it's certainly probably the lowest on my list of maps that I enjoyed. But I don't remember it being horrible.
It just seemed weird that you're like jumping from board to board.
Right. Right. That is a bit unusual. But
it works.
I remember it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't super good. It wasn't something that I look back and say, oh man, I really want to play that again. But it's just another different variant, another way to play. So
here's a bone to pick here. I think it's weird because there is a history of railroads. If you want to do Railways Through Time, there's a rich depth in history of railroad. But they went BC, like where railroads don't exist. And you're making railroads in the past.
Well, if you have time travel, you could go back in time and build your railroads, right? So
Okay. So the newest maps. Portugal is really interesting. Vital Lacerda was the co-designer on there, and he does some interesting things. One thing it does, it introduces like these ferries, and it has this, but it creates this weird choke point. Everyone can build a rail between the islands and the mainland, but especially the one that goes to I forget the names. I think Azores to the whatever port it links to. There's only 2 links into that city.
Oh.
So everybody can get from the whatever, but you can monopolize the going past that. And so, which is an interesting, that doesn't happen a lot on the other maps. Like, there's definitely like,
right.
Yeah, there's limited spaces that you can go into every city. But that is a weird choke point where it's like, it's built in the rules. Everyone can do it, but one person can monopolize the getting out.
Interesting.
And so, which changes it. The other thing it does is it adds cubes until a certain phase of the game gets hit. So those islands keep getting cubes, and they can build them up. Both times I've played it, though, we've kind of rushed to that point, so it didn't get a huge build-up of cubes. And so I think it would have been more interesting if it would have kept doing it a little longer. And obviously that was within our control. We could have extended it a little bit. But yeah. Do you have like a favorite map?
I don't know. I haven't played enough, I think, to call them a favorite. I know, of course, the originally Eastern U.S. map is a lot of fun. Yeah. I do remember really enjoying Canada.
The one that goes...
the Canada map. I remember that one being a lot of fun. I think I played that one 2 or 3 times.
Interesting.
I would probably put that one towards the top. I don't remember a lot about the England ones. I remember playing them. I don't have a recollection that it was super great or super not great.
Right.
So
it's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them don't really introduce anything. It's just another way to look at the map.
Just
different
different routes that you have to look at, different connections.
So when I got my copy, it came with the Mexico map. Do you have that?
Yeah, I do have the Mexico map, and I played that once.
That's great with 2 or 3 players.
Mm-hmm.
You can play with more, but like if you're resigned to playing with only one other person, like Mexico's a really good option.
Yeah.
Nippon's a pretty good option. Portugal's actually a pretty good option too. And I've played 2-player on the Eastern U.S. map.
Interesting.
Which it works.
It seems like
it works. You could just totally avoid everyone else.
Right? Yeah. Like, you could completely opposite sides of the boards and never.
It just becomes
until the end of the
becomes
game.
A game of okay. I found my thing that I think is going to be really good, and you found your thing, let's see who did it better.
Yeah, who built the better engine. So, are there any single player variants?
I haven't played any. I don't know if they exist. I'm sure someone has written something.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well it would hold up.
I don't know if there's an official solo player. I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Europe is interesting. You ever played the Europe map?
I have, and I'm glad you reminded me of that. Europe is actually, now that I recall, is also one of my favorites. Yeah. We played Europe at one of our eForp sessions.
That's
if
right.
I remember right.
We did.
Matter of fact, it might even been either the last one or the second to last one that we had. I remember you schooled me.
Maybe.
But I remember. I'm pretty sure you won that one pretty handily.
One thing I remember the Euro map, it wasn't that play, but it was the first time I tried the strategy. It was like, I don't care how much things cost. I'm just going to go into debt. and I won on that Europe map doing that. And the Europe one's kind of expensive. There's a lot of mountains. There's a lot of...
Right.
You kind of have to spend some money.
Either along the coast or across the mountains.
Yeah.
You're paying money just about wherever you build. So I remember the routes. Because one of the other ways you can score points in the games is by connecting certain cities. Be the first to connect certain cities. And if I remember right, the routes on the Europe map were probably a little more important than maybe some of the other games.
Yeah,
that's how it felt to me anyway.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, that's another interesting thing about the Portugal map. One thing that it introduced was some of those lines have to connect 3 cities.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you have to go.
Yeah.
And Vitalis sort of actually answered my question on this. They don't have to be like connect. Like you don't have to go through. Like just those 3 cities have to be connected together.
Right. Not in
like
the
they
order.
don't not in the order that. But and that was interesting. That's an interesting wrinkle. Have you played the Japan map? Nippon?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not played. I do have it, but I haven't played it.
That one that's another good 2-player map. It is super tight. You are always, even with 2 players, like you're just always in each other. Like there's no room.
Okay.
You were just running into each other. And here's my old bone to pick for like quality. They had this great idea because one of the complaints was like the cubes and the colors on the cities don't match very well at some of the other print runs. So like they made this big deal. They delayed the Kickstarter. We're gonna get this right, and then not right.
I do remember that. Now that you mention it, the whole delay on that, and it is kind of funny because the original versions, or the earlier versions, I should say, were infamous for the whole purple versus blue thing, including to the point where I think they actually printed out some graphics, stickers that you could put on to try to help address some of that color variant.
Yeah, no, Nippon's the worst.
So.
and then beyond that, there's like typos, like the thing with the lines, like are wrong.
That's too bad. That's unfortunate that kind of stuff gets in, especially when they are supposed to be putting that much emphasis on getting it right. So.
I mean, I'll forgive you, but because I like the game that much. But how about other stuff? I know I played with you one time. You have like the card game version.
The Railways of the World card game. Actually, I really enjoy that one.
I played it once. I don't remember a ton about
it. It really does a good job of bringing the feel of the game from a board version into a card version. Yeah. So the idea there is instead of a map, you play cards that represent different cities. And you build routes by laying the cards out in certain areas. You draw your cubes out of a bag, and then you have to deliver between the cities that are
come back to me.
built by the cards. I actually like that one. If you're looking for the Railways experience in a smaller format and a quicker version, it really works well. I like that one a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I remember, but I do remember playing with you, which leads me to believe that was during I have a little dead period where I didn't keep track of my plays for like 3 or 4 months. And we must have played that in that time period because I did not talk about it in my every game I played series.
Yeah, it must have.
So it must have been in that little dead period.
Probably. I'm trying to remember. I used to host a game session at work during lunchtime.
Okay.
I tried to get folks together to play. There's I want to say 3 or 4 of the people in our closer game group that work at the same place I do or nearby. And we used to have daily lunch sessions, and I think we played it there a number of times. I can't remember if you joined us for one of those.
No, I don't work out there. So.
Well, I know, but we've had guest visitors out there before. So.
No, I've never been out to PNNL.
Okay. All right.
I would have remembered that.
I was trying to remember if that's where you played.
I actually wonder if you were still doing that because I actually have a new buddy who works out there, and it's like, I meant to ask you,
it kind of fizzled because people just get so busy, and they by the time they get done with their actual lunch, and it's just hard. It's hard to find the time, I guess. Yeah. So
you got to work sometime, right?
Right.
All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about the expansions were my favorite little bit. I don't play with it all the time because Steve doesn't like it as much. I love the little rotating things. Have you ever played those?
The rotating cities that change colors?
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I especially love it one time, and I think this is the time I destroyed you. We played with that, and I saw the sequence where I was like, if I deliver these in order, I'm going to keep trucking along. and I saw the order, it clicked in my brain. It's like, I am going to milk this for points.
Well, that's good that you're able to do that. Typically what happens to me is I see the order the wrong way, and I deliver the first cube, and I'm like, oh shoot, now I can't do anything with that anymore. Yeah. So,
but I love that, and I love how simple that mechanism is. Just you rotate things. Because that makes sense. Like cities want different things at different times. Yeah.
Hey, do you play with any of the variants with the different giant plastic pieces?
I find them distracting. Yeah. I did get like you saw there. I got the special the empty city markers.
Yeah.
And I like those because they're very distinctive. They're all the same. You know what they are. Like you're supposed to, they have like hotels.
Right. Well, the hotels don't actually change the rules. It just gives you a way to mark your hotel on the map, which is actually I like that one.
Yeah, I didn't like it because it made the map too messy. I thought.
Yeah, I think I would kind of agree with you. There's the one that lets you split. So instead of having to build a new route, you can actually split off an existing route.
I don't think
switch one.
I do have that. I don't play with
the water tower ones. I don't even remember what those did for the rules.
There's like one where it's like it's not water tower. It's a coal depot, I think.
Oh, is it?
You can. It looks like a water tower, but I think you can move a cube and then let it sit and then move it again.
There you go. Okay, maybe that's what it was. So,
and
but the rules tweaks aren't bad, but the pieces are just too big. I think for the map, there's just too much clutter. But they look nice.
My big thing about it is I run into this like Great Western Trail too. Like some of the expansions, I like the base game so well. The game is so good, it doesn't need a lot of other fluff. Like the different maps are interesting. Some of those little rules tweaks are interesting, and there's things I like. But but when it comes down to it, that base game is so good. I don't know why I need to introduce more stuff.
Yeah,
like Great Western Trail has that expansion. I played it one time. It was fine. I was like, I really like Great Western Trail so much by itself. I don't know if I need to play that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot in the game already, and I think you're spot on. It doesn't need to have a lot of extra stuff. So, but it's there if you wanna.
It is fun to explore different things though. All right, so we've kind of talked about this. What's the fun stuff?
We didn't talk about the Baron cards. I like the Baron cards.
Yeah, the end goal.
The hidden end goal things.
Those you always try to get them? My buddy Steve sometimes just ignores them.
I usually try to do them.
Sometimes he wins.
I do know. There was one of the games I played where I had the Baron that had to have the least amount of debt, and
I hate those ones
because there's always some jerk out there that does it better than you, and they don't even know why they're doing it, right?
Yeah. Or like the race to get the bigger train. It's like you're trying so hard to do it, and somebody else is just doing it.
Like, I got all this money, I'll upgrade my train. You're like, damn it. But yeah, I usually try to get them, and I like it. For me, it helps because it gives me something to aim for instead of just looking at this giant map and saying, I don't know, where do I want to start. So it does help give you a little bit of purpose if you don't know what you want to do to start. So
for sure
I do like them.
I always use it's my start point. It's like, what am I trying to do? My actual start point is I really want to make those first deliveries, the different color deliveries. I always focus on that, and I hate when I don't get it. I'm not sure that I like that piece of it, honestly, because that is the biggest fight of the game. Seems like that first round. Who's going to be able to put down the one token route that gets you your deliveries, that gets you the starting bonuses. I almost wonder if it became be better
tweaking the start of the game a little bit so that you didn't have to fight for that huge bonus just to start the game might be a little bit more fun. But once you get past that, and everyone starts to usually it starts to even out.
But I think
it's more fun.
I think like with experienced players, what happens is that's what that auction does.
Right.
The auction makes you pay for that right to get those easy early things.
Right.
And sometimes, and I've been hung, like one time, really specifically, I thought I found this great connection that was going to help me get to the 3 cubes really fast. It was going to get me that first thing. Because I was like, I gotta go first. And this is my main problem. I make snap decisions and I just run with it in life and in games. But but my buddy, he noticed another spot on the board that was just as good, and so he just played me. I bid up real high. He's like, I gotta get this, and I probably telegraphed my intentions too much.
Right.
And he was like, okay,
sure.
Spend 12 on that. Okay, all right.
Yeah. and then he slaps down.
And I did not win.
There you go.
So anyway, I think with experience, like those things happen. What's the not so fun stuff?
Well, I think I kind of talked a little bit. I think I know what you're going to talk about. The start of the game is probably one of my least favorite aspects of it. Again, because it just seems like there's so much pressure.
And it's slow. That first turn is long. Like, because you're making your big master plan.
Particularly for inexperienced players, because it's so hard to know how to value.
Yeah.
Right? So you're looking at the map, you're looking at the cubes that are on the board, you're looking at the goals that you want to try to get, and you've got to do this calculus to say, how much is it really worth to be first, right? And so that's kind of goes back to your original chart where you either mad that you didn't bid enough, or you're mad that you bid too much, right?
It's terrible when you like I gotta win this bid, and you like bid like $5 or whatever. Take a debt to take a bid, and then like nobody even wants to do what you're doing.
And then I guess part of that whole bidding thing, talking about that is it's so important early on, but when you get past the first couple of turns, usually it's a no, never mind, and oftentimes nobody's bidding anything, or someone will bid just 1,000, just to keep it.
There's definitely points in the game.
Every once in a while you'll see a card that will pop up that someone is. Absolutely have to have that card, and so you might see a little bit of bidding for that. But the bidding is a bit of an interesting.
I really like the bidding. That's interesting.
Yeah.
My least favorite part is when people play better than me.
I don't have that problem. Or I should say, I don't have to worry about that problem because they always play better than me. I guess what I mean.
No, I don't like when. I hate when you like halfway through the game and you realize that somebody else notice something on the board that was just way better than what you saw.
Yeah, I kind of accept that's going to happen. So I will watch what they're doing. And I'm like, oh man, that's a great idea. I wish I would have thought of that.
That's a problem in a lot of games, actually.
Yeah, I know. So I don't let that bother me too much. If I did, I wouldn't be able to enjoy very many games.
I guess what I'm saying is there's not a whole lot of stuff in the game I don't like because there, I don't know. It'd just be nitpicky stuff. I don't know. It's a great game. If you don't like it, you're wrong. Anyway, final thoughts.
I thought you might wanted to talk about the one variant that you didn't like. It seems like something.
What was the variant I didn't like? Oh. Okay.
The map.
I got some map issues.
Yeah.
I kind of talked about them. The Nippon map is so in your face, and the graphic design issues and everything is just... I have a bone to pick with that, just specifically. The Portugal thing, although it's interesting and neat, I think is a little frustrating. But it's still a good game. I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder, because you've got the major lines up there, one thing that I always wondered about is if there were different major lines, so it wasn't always the same major lines. It's just something
one thing that is kind of lucky in the game is sometimes, depending on which variant and which rule set you're using, like when those the bounty cards, some people, they pop up and they're real easy for people to get.
Right. Hey, I'm already there, so I don't have to do anything, and I just literally get a bunch of points.
And so it's just a bunch of points.
Because the card showed up.
And that's maybe the one thing that's sort of like, but I benefited from enough that I can't complain too much.
Right.
Anyway, Rose of the World, great game. I recommend, if you like heavier games, if you like train games, if you like whatever, I think it's worth a play to see if you like it or not.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know what else to say.
I do really enjoy it. Do you know if they're working any other
I'm sure there's something
maps
in the works.
So
the last two maps were like co-designs. So the Japan map, there's a Japanese designer whose name I'm forgetting. And then the Batalha's is from Portugal and did the Portugal map. So I'm sure they probably found somebody from somewhere to do a map about their hometown.
Sure. Are there any other pickup and delivery games that are like this?
So
you could compare it
Steam,
to?
Age of Steam, which I haven't played either one of them. Steam, when I was doing I meant to talk about this in the research, but so Steam was a branch off of Age of Steam with Railways of the World. They both came out the same year. So Martin Wallace kind of dipped back in and kind of went two different ways. I think Glenn Drover did his thing with this one, and then Martin Wallace kind of did his tweak. And I don't know the whole story behind that. Have you ever played Steam?
I have not.
I know it's contentious.
Yes, there's there are plenty of resources online if you want to dig into to a lot of the controversy on all of that.
I remember reading it a couple years ago, but I don't remember the details, so I won't go into it. But I don't know. I just ordered Steam. It was on sale at Miniature Market.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming at some point.
Are there any other pickup and delivery games that aren't necessarily train related that remind you of this?
Did you ever play Via Nebula?
I have not.
It's a Martin Wallace game.
Oh.
It's actually an interesting pickup and deliver game. It has sort of this fantasy setting, kind of, maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, it's sort of like you're connecting things, and so you're trying to create pathways to connect things. I wouldn't say it's like this game. I didn't like it as much.
Okay.
But it is interesting. Yeah. It may be worth. I know you can get it real cheap some places.
Sure. And then I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you about was the original name, of course, was Railroad Tycoon, which was a nod to the computer game.
Right.
Of computer games that I played back in the day, I would probably rate Railroad Tycoon as my number one favorite.
Yeah.
I liked it better than SimCity. I liked it better than any of the other stuff out there.
Yeah.
I played that for hours and hours and hours.
I never had Railroad Tycoon. I remember because I was kind of, because Empire Builder, I was kind of interested in train games, and I found some computer train game. It wasn't Railroad Tycoon. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. I hated it because it had here's what I didn't like about it. It had this facade of it was sort of a simulator, but it had this facade that is this open world,
right?
but not really. You had to start in New York and go to Boston. Like, if you didn't generate any money because it's simulating like real pathways.
Sure.
So the first time I played, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to play my hometown." You can go from Pasco to Spokane. Oh, nobody lives out here.
That's funny.
And so you spend all this money building this track, and you're just waiting for 100 years in the game
for some revenue to finally
just
show
a little
up.
revenue. And,
That's funny.
That was dumb.
I absolutely
yeah.
loved the computer game.
Yeah.
I was never really good at it though because the computer game had at each city it would have different amounts of supply and demand of a whole bunch of categories. But the only thing I could ever make money at was people and mail. I never could figure out how to take advantage of all the other resources that the cities were asking for or delivering because it seemed like they were in such small amounts. And so most of my time I was just doing mail routes and transportation routes. But it was an extremely well done video game. I loved it. So
to go in a totally different direction, this kind of reminds me. Have you ever played Pan Am? It's a Funko or Prospero Hall. You buy it at Target.
No.
It's a really good. Anyway, it was my favorite game of last year. Like that was produced last year. Anyway, but it reminds me. But it talks about the history of Pan Am, the airline, and that's where they was mail. They got mail contracts to go to like Latin America for the U.S. government, and that's where they anyway
got their infrastructure going.
And made a bunch of money that way. And
I thought you were going to say Panamax. I read it first.
I like Panamax.
I do like that one too.
I remember playing Panamax and screwing you over. Not supposed to remind you that though.
I'm trying to think of a game where you haven't done that to me.
It's not always on purpose. Anyway, this has been Browies of the World, games I've played 20 times. Thank you, Andy, for coming in.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for inviting me in.
Yeah, this was super fun. Anyway, I'll see you when I really need to come up with a tagline.
Where? I'm making a YouTube video, Bev.